Overview of new features, Part 3. So what are the new things that are included, the big new things, in terms of plugins and other effects? First of all, we've already kind of talked about this when we looked at the software package versions, but I want to review it here. There's something called SynthMaker, which allows you to design your own instruments and effects. That comes free with the Producer and XXL editions. Now, personally, I recommend getting one of those editions no matter what because they come with the most bang for your buck. However, not everyone can afford that even, so you won't get that if you don't have it, but it's really cool if you do. Plus, we have the Fruity Limiter, which we're going to talk about in depth in some of our different tutorials throughout the course. We have Wave Candy, which is a visualization tool. We're going to talk about that in just a minute because that's a pretty cool way to use this with other new feature that we have. We have Sound Goodizer. It's a really cool harmonic tool that allows you to work with dynamics and harmonics at the same time. Great for things like drums or other different sounds. We'll also have a section about that later in the course. We also have Slicix, which again is free for Producer and XXL editions, which is pretty awesome. And we have the Fruity Dancer, which is totally bizarre and weird, but is kind of interesting. And what that is, let me show you that real quick. Add a channel. And let's see, we're looking for the Fruity Dance. It brings up little animated dancers on your screens, which you can control via automation and MIDI. And it's pretty bizarre, but something that only FL Studio people would do. So it's pretty cool to have it. But again, it's just a visual thing. It doesn't really do anything else. There's no audio associated with it. So it's just a little dancer. You can do different dances, etc. Okay. That being said, let's move on now to some of the other features. I mentioned that the Wave Candy had a really cool application with a different tool in here. So let's go to the mixer for a moment. Another thing we have is this channel at the very end. It's called the Selected channel. Basically, you can put different effects on here, like Wave Candy. And let's find the Wave Candy here. Very end, of course. Wave Candy is totally awesome. We do look at this in a different tutorial in this course, a little bit more in depth. But you can see it floats above everything. This is something that's definitely made cool through the use of Vista because Vista gives this some functionality that you can't use in XP or other versions of Windows. The whole transparency thing. So, this is on that channel. The one channel at the very end there. And what this does is any channel you select gets sent to this channel as well. So it's just the selected channel. For instance, and let me just select a channel here, number 5, push play. You can see as I was choosing different channels, the spectrum changed to show what was on that channel. Completely useful tool in terms of efficiency and working in FL Studio. Very powerful. Now we also have some other tools that have been upgraded. Like the Edison has a number of new features, a new drum loop stretching tool, which we talk a little bit about with Slicix, but it's also in the Edison as well. There's new looks to it, new ways that things work, new keyboard shortcuts, but overall it's basically the same tool. So we don't need to go into that. All the basics are the same. It's just the way you do a couple things are a little bit different. We also have in the playlist a couple of new things as well. Ways you can add tracks, the way you can also look at the waveform in stereo, not just mono, which is pretty cool. And the way you can do that, for instance, would be in an audio file to go here, and you can change it in here, but we don't have any audio files on this session, so that's okay. One more thing on the mixer that I almost forgot here. This is pretty awesome as well. When you're in the mixer and you're working with a track with effects, you can hover over them and use the scroll wheel on your mouse to change the order. So I'm going to hover over the first one, move my scroll wheel down a notch, and it changes the order. I'm not moving my mouse, I'm just changing the scroll wheel. so I can change the order very quickly, and that's very powerful. Allows you to do a lot of stuff very easily to change the effects order and see how they sound. So a lot of tweaks like this. There's more to do with the scroll wheel and some other menus. Mostly it just allows you to change parameters with the scroll wheel. So that's a really superficial thing, which I'm not going to go through and tell you every single instance where that's changed, but just know that they've begun to expand a lot what you can do with the scroll wheel. Okay, for the most part that's it, and I think you'll find that the other changes that are made are purely small changes in terms of how you control things, how you can do some keyboard shortcuts. Some things under the hood have been made a little bit more efficient, etc. Some small features have been expanded, and most of those you'll discover as you go or will discover together throughout the whole part of this course. Now keep in mind that this is not what I would call an extremely advanced course in FL Studio 8. Just by the nature of it, there's so many basics and so many other things we have to cover to really get into this that we're not going to be going over every single teeny little detail. However, when an opportunity arises in a normal workflow situation to explore some of those things, we definitely will. So keep that in mind. Keep your eye out each of the different sections as we talk about new things in FL Studio 8. Okay, let's move on.